Oh my goodness, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I would say yes. Like, yes, that because they are such a highly interpretive work. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
it is not a copying of anything, at all. It is the most, what is it, transformative? Like, it is extremely transformative work.
And we're live.
Speaking of
right.
transformative work, we're live.
This is really strange. Not actually being the one to stream it.
Well, do you know what's
what
really
happens
strange as well, Matt? That everyone else in the world is looking at Nevada thinking, what the fuck are you playing at? How long does it take to count things, for God's sake?
It's hard to count things when your computer.
I know what it is. They've taken the law about counting cards in the state of Nevada too far, and now people are actually thinking that it applies to postal ballots as well. You can't count more than a few before someone.
The problem is they can never get above 21 votes. Every time they do, they bust and they have to start over, recount.
And you say that now, but you're talking in Pennsylvania, sir. So you can't be talking because we're still waiting on you too.
Well,
Your 100 and something thousand votes.
And then they need to wait for
it's still super sketchy
I swear they can't get off the number 100,000 because I swear I've heard 100,000 something for like 4 days now.
Well, it's super sketch when like the Trump votes go up not at all and 27,000 straight for Biden. I'm like, there's no way you counted exactly 27,316 votes straight for Biden and not a single one for Trump. I'm like, what are you doing?
Most of the time they say like that's an error on the software from like whatever place you're watching it from, because like they had one in Michigan where it was 120,000 went for Biden overnight and then 0 for Trump, and they said it was a clinical error in regards to updating the county site, and they corrected it because some guy tweeted about it. It was a drama fest on Facebook when I saw that.
Yeah, everything's a drama fest right now.
Oh my lord!
We unlike every Ubisoft game, we don't talk about politics. there's no politics in this podcast. You know, that's actually confused me. I've started watching some more Twitch streamers, not us, obviously, because I'd be watching me. Can I even do that? And people have started kind of getting off on a tirade about COVID or people's response to COVID, and then say, but I don't want to get into politics. And it's like, well, shut up then. Just talk about the video game that you're playing that may or may not have a political meaning, because I was watching someone stream Watch Dogs Legion, which definitely isn't political. And then the other person was streaming Call of Duty, which has never been political.
Never.
So I don't know why there is this obsession with not being political. So
I feel.
politics.
Oh yeah, I feel like when people say that though.
Call of Duty 2 wasn't political. Like, go kill the Nazis. Like killing Nazis is not political.
There was no
people say they don't like politics in their video games, they're just saying, "Oh, I just don't want those politics in my video game."
Yeah, or I don't want to hear, or I'm being selective in my way of hearing it. Right. That was a good start, wasn't it?
To end 7 Day.
To end 7 Day, because there's no politics in Mass Effect. I mean, talking about
global. I'm sorry, intergalactic
conflict between and political ramifications.
There's no punching Nazis, just punching reporters.
Which I'm sure there's a few people out in America right now who'd love to punch lots of reporters, them being part of the filthy liberal media. Spreading lies.
That apparently has called this election when I look at every single news outlet and no one has called this election. So I'm so that one just like I was like, what are you talking about? No one's called anything.
A couple did recant. Like there were a couple of ones that had put their electoral college meter like up to 270 with Biden. They're like yeah,
but no major one.
there weren't people who like ABC or anything like that hadn't gone as far as that, but they definitely did decall several states. Like Nevada was one of them. Like they had called Nevada. Like, yep,
and
that's
Arizona.
Biden. That's a sorry, you're right, Arizona. Like, yep, that's a Biden state.
I think
believe
Fox
it's
did.
called-
I think he did it because Fox called in. He was heartbroken. He's like, my precious Fox News, they went against me.
Oh,
Because apparently they called Rupert Murdoch and he said, I'm sticking to my people. So thumbs up to Fox News for once to stick with their people.
right. So we are PixelPints. We are a group of people from around the world. Or it's just 2 countries today because Evan couldn't be asked, and he was too busy playing video games. I think he's playing Overcooked at the moment and hating it. Is there any politics in Overcooked?
No, but I think it's because Wisconsin was so close. He just didn't want to feel like to represent the state. He felt like putting two liberals on there would be too much for Wisconsin to handle.
Is there a thing in Overcooked where someone marches on saying meat is murder?
No, but there is cannibalism.
You do cook a lot of sushi, though.
As long as it's not whale sushi. So we definitely don't do politics. We talk about good beer and video games, and sometimes not politics, never. And we're here to talk about N7 Day.
Now you got me
Because
questioning whether
the-
VeggieTales is political.
The most the most political game ever being Minecraft. It's about
Very
taking
political.
other people's land and turning it into something that you want.
Block
Actually,
by block.
hold on 2 seconds. Not there's something wrong with the stream. I have a game that is a political game, but it's a very fun political game. So I just have to find it on my Steam account because I forgot the name of it. So keep talking, but I'll find it.
Is it the one where you it's set in the UK where you is it Papers, Please? I've heard that's good.
No, it's called Democracy 3. So basically what you play, so basically the point of the game is you pick what kind of system you have, whether it could be a what kind of electoral system you have. It could be United States style with electoral college. It could be the UK
Fuck
by
no!
popular
Why would
vote.
anyone want that? That needs reform.
So you could pick whatever you want, and then based off that, they already have predetermining factors of saying like, there's these little bubbles that basically like it shows how cause and effect happen. When you affect one law, it affects these other things, and you have to try to manage a country basically in a sense with like you have a high case of poor people now because you encased a law where taxes were too high, or businesses are leaving, so your revenue is down for the country. It's a really cool like understanding how cause and effect of policies and procedures in a basic sense. It's really cool, so I like it. And you can get assassinated because you fucked up.
That's
You
the
put a
most
$200 tax on all firearms. You've disarmed poor people.
Yeah, so I'm really lost now.
And
yeah, we
7
definitely.
We don't promote drinking, but I'm not sponsored, but if someone would like to sponsor us, we would be happy to get sponsored.
And so we can get into the news quickly. We're just going to do a quick round the room. Liam, how's things?
Yeah, pretty good. I have overcome a great task that I set myself.
What game have you finished?
I finished Lego Harry Potter. Evan warned me. Evan warned me not to play those god-awful games, I can fully admit now. But I still played them anyway and thought, I just want something peaceful to play while I listen to podcasts.
You didn't
mistaken.
just finish them, though, did you?
I platinumed them.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
And
Did you spend your money?
I encountered some bugs that hindered me terribly, and I still managed to platinum them.
Did you spend real money on Harry Potter?
Buy the game, at least.
I feel like I bought it ages ago in a sale.
Okay. As
Maybe
long as
like
it was
a
on
couple of years
sale
ago.
and not yeah.
Was it,
No,
was it
I'd
an
never buy a
easy
Lego
platinum
game full
is the real
price.
question.
Easy in that it's easy to do. Not easy in terms of how much I
Tedium.
wanted to kill myself.
I think it's the tedium more than anything else.
Not even the tedium, just the sheer mediocre. Like how absolutely mediocre those games are, especially the first one. It's mind-bogglingly bad at times. Like, and I'm a pretty big Harry Potter fan, so it's actually like really bad.
Yeah, for those of you listening, thank you very much for listening and picking up the podcast wherever you catch your pods. Liam has changed his background for once to the picture of Daniel Radcliffe in that stage show where he got naked. That's how much of a Harry Potter fan he is. He's not really. I just made that up, but he's got the life-size cardboard cutout instead.
Yeah, it's just over there. Yeah.
Mikey, how's things with you in Pennsylvania? You're going to drive to Philadelphia and demand that your vote be counted in front of you, with you standing 6 inches away from the person who's counting it.
Because I was moving, I actually did go and vote in person. Like I only moved like 20 minutes up the road, but I was like, I didn't want to mess with the hassle of like them like sending my ballot to the wrong place and whatever. So I did vote in person. And like, it was good. But as far as I don't know, whoever wins, we lose. Moving on.
The lawyers win. That's what I've discovered. Whoever wins, the lawyers win.
Anyway, so everything has been pretty well with mine, except for my daughter burning her hand 2 days ago, and so having to constantly be taking care of that and having a just looking out for the poor little girl, like wandering around, like run back and forth, but then like slipping on like her hand sock because she's like on a tile floor, like, and then flopping her head on the ground, like, oh no! When it rains, it pours.
I'm always told that's the most dangerous time is when the child can start walking. And
she has walked 3 consecutive steps in a row unaided on her own, but most of the time she'll try, but she's like, this is way too slow. Back on the ground. The funniest thing is when she does the Mowgli crawl, where she doesn't use her knees, she uses both her feet and her hands. It's like this four-legged spider, like, and so I'm like, why are you doing that? And she's just like, anyway. Moving on. As far as video games, I am trying to finish Ghost of Tsushima before the 12th, so that I finished like the last major game of the generation before I get the new generation. So
it's a good strategy, but I'm waiting until the 12th to play it. 60 frames per second.
I do have a pro, so I do have at least the performance mode. And I was debating whether I'm like, oh, it's gonna look good. They said like, hey, we got a patch, like you can play it awesome on PS5, but I'm like, I'm gonna be playing Miles Morales and Demon's Souls once that thing hits. I'm not gonna want to play Ghost of Tsushima because right now I've hit kind of not really the Ubisoft slump, but it's kind of the Ubisoft slump. I'm in the second area of that game, and it's hard for me to stay focused on any of the main missions, and I'm kind of dragging a little bit on the side stuff because there's way too many things on the map, and I see the map is huge, and I'm like, oh, it's not
that huge because the fast travel mechanic's so good.
It actually is pretty good, and I actually made a point to go out and find some very far points up the map, so when I have a mission out there, I can fast travel. So
it's not good. I would say it's the best fast travel mechanic of the generation in regard to load time.
I think it's the best fast travel mechanic in any game because it is just so quick.
Well, I'm only saying for now because I heard Spider-Man Miles Morales is really good on that fast travel time too.
Well, I watched the Digital Foundry review earlier on. They said the load time go from booting up the PS5 to getting back to the main menu and then in the game, less than 6 seconds.
It's crazy.
So it was four and a half seconds to get from the PlayStation 5 homepage into the loading screen, and then from the save file into the game, 1.5 seconds.
Oh my gosh!
Nice.
It's a gamer's dream.
So it's not going to be a dream for EA or 2K. Because what are they going to do with all their splash pages for buy fucking
Oh, there
FIFA
you
packs
go.
and Madden cards and?
Sorry, I interrupt this podcast to bring you that CNN has declared Joe Biden the elected president.
Wow,
Wow.
CNN did that? Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought you were going to say I interrupt this podcast because a Mass Effect video has
Yeah,
dropped.
seriously.
Yeah.
We're done
Seriously,
Something.
Liam, there's more important
Jesus,
stuff
Liam,
going on.
What's going on?
Keep
I'm sorry,
politics out
guys.
of my games.
I need to get my priorities in the right,
Plus, you
right
spoiled it
place.
for me, man. You spoiled it. I was gonna look
Well,
on the news and I wanted to see it all posted.
I was going to have a good breakfast in anonymity.
Damn it, you fucked
Now.
it up.
I'm sorry. From now on, I'm only going to talk about Demon Souls
See,
and
it
Mass
doesn't
Effect.
count because my phone didn't tell me. My phone didn't say anything about him winning. So
You
that
overcooked
doesn't
my
work.
grits. You curdled my milk.
It's okay. I understand if you don't want to let me back on the podcast. Cool.
Banned.
Well, we need someone. We need someone to pad it out when I'm not
Put your
around.
milk in before your tea bag.
Yeah, of course. No, you don't.
don't.
What are you talking about?
I'm saying he did it out of order.
Oh, okay. Because you'd scold the milk if you poured the hot water on.
Exactly.
Monstrous.
Right. So, Matt, I know what temperature it is in Las Vegas, so I don't really care how you're doing anymore.
Well, I was going to say, I dropped off my ballot on October 17th. It still has not been counted, but apparently Joe Biden's president, so who cares, right?
Well, you didn't vote for him, so
You
it
did
doesn't
vote for
matter.
him anyways. It doesn't matter.
Sorry, it's 20 degrees here in Pennsylvania.
Mitch, how's things with you? We can move on to actual topics.
It's good. It rained last night, which kind of sucks because I wanted to play tennis this afternoon. So I'm hoping the court will be dry by the time I get out there. The one day it rained.
Was that just rubbing you going out and being able to play tennis is just rubbing it into all of the people watching from England who can't go and play tennis because of the least lockdown I think I've ever been through, where pretty much everything is open except for normal retail outlets and hospitality. Literally everything else is open. And it is really, really odd.
It's weird. And then I was gonna say, game I was playing, I was just trying to finish up, and now I forgot what game I was finishing up. I was trying to finish up Neo 2.
Oh, how'd you like that?
I haven't finished it.
No, I mean, how have you liked your experience so far?
It's
4-second review.
I think I've only gone like 7 hours farther than last time on my review, and my review still stands.
Gotcha.
It hasn't changed much. It's still hard as hell, but I'm not getting a PS5, so I'm not getting Demon Souls. So it's what I'm gonna get.
If I want the gaming equivalent of self-flagellation, I'll carry on playing Neo 2.
Is your lack of PS5 due to budget or just not being able to pre-order one?
Budget.
Okay.
100%. I would have bought one if I had a budget for it.
Right.
I would have bought both. I would have bought an Xbox Burkoff.
That's why Evan's not come on, because he's the only person who isn't in the Xbox ecosystem at all, or the Windows ecosystem.
Wait, isn't Liam not in the Xbox ecosystem?
I haven't. Well, actually, I have like 2 base Xbox Ones, and I just
hooked up together to form a
Xbox the Series X
2.
I just sold my One X a little while ago because I thought, well, I might as well sell it now while it's worth something, and then I'll get a Series X sometime next year, I imagine.
Microsoft comes out introducing a new kind of console. Xbox One with Xbox One equals Xbox 3.
Right, we're doing beers, and I'm starting. Let's just turn this off quickly so you can actually see the can, because it's pretty freaking cool.
Can you do that?
That is cool.
That is pretty cool.
Nice.
Right, for those listening, I'm drinking Anarchy Brew Company Hollow Heroes. It was going to be one of my Halloween beers to drink, but then we did the Halloween show, which Matt hasn't put up yet on YouTube.
How did you say that? Isn't it Anarchy? Or is that
Yeah.
You said Anarchy.
Anacrity.
Anarchy.
Oh, it is Anarchy. Okay.
Not to be confused with the Japanese anaki.
That
It's
does look
slightly
like piss.
odd colour.
Like, I would be careful of that because that is how my urine looked recently during my sinus infection.
Oh,
So-
yeah, that's
You see, you're not going to put me off drinking it.
Okay.
Stuff like that doesn't put me off. It's fine.
see what it does
All right,
look
just
like.
be
It
careful.
looks like urine combined with apple juice. It's got
Thank
the
you for-
consistency of apple juice, but yet the discoloration of urine.
If it's clear and yellow, you got juice there, fella. If it's tangy and brown, you're in cider town.
Okay, thank you. It's a vegan-friendly IPA. Okay,
No lard.
5.3% by volume, and it's a slightly hazy, but it's not a hazy IPA. Very floral and quite drinkable. I'm going to also be having the Wild Beer Company Nebula, and this is a hazy IPA.
Nice.
Wow.
That's a
And
cool
that's-
can too. I like it.
I've had this on the show before, but I don't think I managed to show the can art.
No.
But I had that before, and that's very nice as well. If you can get your hands on the Wild Beer Company Nebula, that's the only one of the three that I can find that I like. The other two are not that good. I did see something that someone's doing a special in Waitrose, and they're doing a special limited edition beer from Sharps Brewery in Cornwall, but it's a chocolate stout, so I'm not drinking that shit.
You're missing out.
No, I'm not.
Could be delicious.
Right. Does anyone else have beers or beer they want to talk about?
It does. All right. Let's see. Turn this off.
McWomble, you must choose a different image.
I
That's our
shared this one on
background image.
Discord.
That's our background image. You can't take our background image.
He's just inceptioning the background image.
All right.
So it looks like they're punching you in the face. So, you know.
Because
Okay, I'll just be Commander Shepard's chest for the moment.
Nipple armor. Anyway, I am re-reviewing Officer Kinky Thompson's Pale Ale because last time I had it, it was 4 a.m, and I don't remember anything of what it tasted like. So, and I didn't actually give you guys a review of the actual. It's the notes itself is almost like a slightly roasted barley in the pale ale, but it doesn't talk about roasting.
It's got to stay as that one.
But
I don't have any other pictures in landscape. They're all portrait.
But it's extremely drinkable. It's got a nice crisp like front, and then like a very mild bitter slide on the back, so it doesn't hit any IPA notes. But it's got just a good crisp, like, you know, a late fall pale ale taste to it, and it's wonderful. But like no spice, no kind of like gussying up the system or whatever with anything that you wouldn't normally make beer with. But it's very delicious. Thank you, Officer Thompson. 6.2% by volume and 35 IBUs. International British units.
This is what I had last night. Stone Benaveza Salt and Lime Lager.
Oh.
4.7%. It's a lager. It tastes like salt and lime. It's not so bad.
That's weird.
Cliff notes.
Yeah, one thumb up.
One thumb up. Out of how many thumbs do you have?
We're not using the goddamn Digital Presents Idle Game Chat scoring system of thumbs up.
Okay.
How many toes is it?
They should change it to how long is the core in the is it core or is it just
Now
core?
you're just reminding me.
Berghoff, there you go. There you go. Instead of one thumb, it's one finger.
You just reminded me. I owe OTAPs some more VO.
No, you don't. Don't give him anything. It's from Essex. Doesn't deserve it, mate. Stay away from that.
Stop tapping O taps.
Yeah. Dodgy around that way, mate, innit? Right. So N7 Day, Casey Hudson has issued a statement, which I won't read all of, but getting into the actual body of what is going to change for the Mass Effect Legendary Edition that's going to be released in spring 2021. Super sharp resolution. I don't know if that's a feature specific to a TV setting on your new 4K display for those of you who have them. So you'll have to go to the super sharp resolution mode for that. Faster frame rates, beautiful visual enhancements, not ugly visual enhancements. That's something I always find funny. It's like delicious food as opposed to outside a restaurant, rather than saying disgusting food. Why would anyone write that? Doesn't make any sense. The Mass Effect Legendary Edition will include single-player base content and DLC for Mass Effect 2, and Mass Effect 3, plus promo weapons, armors, and packs, all remastered and optimized for 4K Ultra HD. They'll be available in spring 2021 for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC, forward-compatible, and target enhancements on Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. More information in the new year. Meanwhile, here at BioWare, a veteran team has been working hard at work envisioning the next chapter in the Mass Effect universe. Who's just going to retcon Andromeda then?
Well, I mean, to be fair, they don't need to, because it exists somewhere else.
Yeah.
We are in the early stages of the project and can't say any more just yet. We're looking forward to sharing our vision for where we are and where we'll be going next.
My theory is they're going to connect Anthem to this.
No.
That Anthem was Mass Effect all along.
Well, there's only so much you can polish the turd that is Anthem. If people haven't seen the 42-second teaser trailer, if those character models are actually the in-game character models for the character, they do look quite brilliant. Particularly Garrus and Morden, who are probably two of the more interesting characters anyway. Morden's one of my favourite characters in video games ever. So...
yeah, he is a really interesting character, for sure.
And he sings in Time with the Pirates of Penzance. So what more do you want from a video game? Definitely not politics. So, Matt, you and I have already did a big deconstruction of Mass Effect before we started doing podcasts.
Right.
Back when Evan hosted podcasts. So are you excited?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I bought all three for my Xbox One, the 360 versions. I'm gonna buy this for sure, just to have higher resolution textures. If they re-release it again after this, I'll buy it again.
This is his new Final Fantasy VII. He's buying it forever.
Strangely enough, I've got all three collector's editions, hard copy collector's editions. Do you know what's going to be the best thing about this remastered version, though?
What?
It's not going to come with Better with Connect at the top of the box.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. You could have said your commands for it. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh,
that was only 3 though, right?
No, it's 2 and 3.
2 and 3.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
And it was bloody terrible. So I'd be
romantic.
Or they'll bring back that optimized for Xbox Series X logo just for you. Stick it right in the middle there.
Please don't.
I'll definitely be buying this again, even though I've got all 3 collector's editions in hard copy. I bought all the DLC, all the paid DLC, and yeah, I'll just buy it again and play through it all again, because I'll have something to play then on my Xbox Series X that I'm actually getting.
Yeah.
What were the tier of collector's editions for these games? Because like some are like, just like, a couple dozen or couple tens of dollars more, like instead of 50, they're like 80 or something like that, or were these like the big bonanza, like $120, $200?
No, there was one of those. Sorry, it's just got dark here because we started a bit later. There was for Mass Effect Andromeda, the stupid one that came with the RC car. And then there was another one that came with a model of the ship. But the original 3 games, they were just boxed copies.
Okay.
That you got extra content for. For the first one, you got art book, a DVD of some of the design backstage elements, and you got the first editions of the Dark Horse comics that were based on the Mass Effect universe.
I would love to get more collector's editions, but I got burned the first time I went out for them and ended up spending like $300+ on Dark Souls 2 collector's editions. So I'm never doing that again. The collector's edition that, at least for the Xbox, ended up at GameStop for $15 a piece. So
I just realized I put the light on behind me, so that's not going to work. I might have to move and do the rest of this standing up so that the light actually shines my face. Mitch, how are you feeling about the N7-day news?
Nah, it's. I mean, I like the series. Don't get me wrong. I'd rather just get something new than get a remastered of the games because I already have them. I already play them. They work fine in their current state. I don't need upgraded textures to. Upgrade textures is not a reason enough to release a game another time. At least for me. That's the. I mean, except I will admit Mass Effect 1 is not very good with its controls and everything. So
they haven't said that they're going to change any of that. They've just said that they're going to.
I mean, if they don't,
kind of alluded to it.
If they don't, then that's a big mistake. That is a horrible mistake that they made, and it will really make me not want to buy it because I don't want to play those horrible controls again.
Yep.
Yeah,
we've already confirmed that the shooting is better than Uncharted. So
no, it's not.
That was a fact. It was written in stone.
Whether this fact is confirmed or not, that isn't actually very high praise.
And we live in a post-truth society.
And to the knowledge, I believe Burkhoff was drinking at the time, so I don't know if we can count him at his word on that one.
I think you're wrong though, Keith, about them not updating Mass Effect 1 because they sort of alluded to it in this article, saying that they're going to work on updating textures, shaders, models, effects, but also the technical features of the free games.
But
then they also
technical features don't include mechanics. Technical.
They do. Yeah.
I don't read that into it. When they talk about the only reason why I'm saying this is because they talked about they would have said controls. Like honestly they would have said controls because they said textures. They talked everything about the visual, nothing about how the game actually functions.
Yeah, that would be the technical.
That's not technical.
I think that's technical.
Well, it depends on what you're talking in semantics because technically everything is technical when it comes to technically designing a video game.
Yeah, it's all technicality.
They wouldn't put technical after listing the textures, shaders, models, and effects, and also they put emphasis on modernizing all 3 games.
It'll be interesting because
and also I'm sort of going off of what Jeff Grubbs already said as well. Clearly knows.
Well done, Lee, for interrupting Matt when he was just about to say something.
Yeah, well, I was going to say the first game they put into the second game's engine for the PS3 because that didn't exist originally. So when they did the Mass Effect Trilogy box set that you could buy, the PlayStation 3 version of Mass Effect 1 was built inside the Mass Effect 2's engine. So I don't know if that's what they're talking about.
Is this technically EA's second remaster?
Yes, it is.
Correct.
So after them saying categorically that they don't do remasters. They believe in new experiences.
It's not so much a remaster though, because when they originally did the trilogy box set, that was just a re-release, of all 3 games together.
But again,
what I meant is,
Barkov just explained it that they had to put the first game into the second game's engine. That had to take a lot of work.
Yeah, but
Mikey's not talking about Mass Effect. He's talking about all their games in general.
Yeah, I was because I think that the one Need for Speed or not
Underground.
Not was it a Need for Speed?
I believe
Burnout Paradise.
Yeah,
Burnout Paradise. That's what I was saying, because Burnout Paradise was their first remaster, and so technically this is their second remastering endeavor, which is going to be interesting because interesting for 2 parts. One, just to see how technically they handle it, because they don't have really much of a back catalog to say this is how well we can do it, and 2, how well it's actually
I take objection there. Did you not see the Command and Conquer mobile game?
That's not a remaster.
Oh no, the Command and Conquer remaster on PC. My friend bought that and he actually said it was really, really good. Like
so yeah, this is gonna be. I possibly am pretty interested in actually jumping into this, because this was one of those games that, or this series of games was one of the other sides of the coin, because a lot of my friends and roommates and I, because we had one big TV, when someone had a big giant game that they were playing, a lot of the times other people in the house would come and watch them play through games, and then we'd kind of swap back and forth. So like I played Witcher 3, and then my buddy played Horizon Zero Dawn, and then I played like Neo and like one of the Dark Souls, and then he played Red Dead Redemption 2. And so we kind of together experienced a lot of these huge, long Endeavor games, because we only had one big TV to play these on. And so I've watched a considerable amount of Mass Effect play, but I've never played them myself. Could
I ask you a couple of questions, Mikey?
Sure.
So in terms of your gaming habits, would you say you're more that kind of, I'd like to get my teeth into a big, meaty game, particularly RPGs? Would you say that? Would you agree? Strongly agree?
Moderately agree. Don't agree one way or the other. Slightly disagree. Heavily disagree. Or extremely disagree. With 1 to 7 being your options. I would say in general, I do enjoy diving into, at least statistically, I do enjoy diving into these RPGs and other stuff like that. It has been difficult over the past couple of years since getting married, getting a spawn, and moving has changed my gaming habits significantly. I wouldn't always say for the better, but on paper, I would be into something like this.
And then my follow-up would be, do you have a preference towards a setting within those games? So yes. Matt is weird. Yeah. Matt is weird because he likes both fantasy and science fiction. I don't know what's wrong with him. He may be some kind of split personality disorder.
I do like both, but I will say back in the day, I pirated Dragon Age, not Mass Effect.
So there's the real.
So like I will say like which it ended up biting me in the butt anyway, because it was like the Crystal Diamond edition, which had a whole bunch of mods pre-baked in, one of them being like epic loot drops, like even at the very beginning of the game. So my inventory was packed full of things I couldn't even sell because I hadn't even gotten to a point in the game where I had a merchant. So like the game was broken, so I deleted it and uninstalled it. But in general, I do prefer I would say mid to low fantasy, actually, as my favorite type of genre for this type of stuff. But I have plenty of sci-fi stuff that I enjoy, and I would be happy to jump into this depending on what were they saying, sometime in 2021?
Spring
2021. Well, if I do jump into it, it probably won't be day one. It will probably be a little bit later because there is a considerable backlog of things I'm trying to finish. And in that thing, if I want to play, if the choice is between this and Cyberpunk 2077 in late 2022, I would definitely pick Cyberpunk because
it's new.
Yeah, it is new.
Actually, given that choice, and then I'd like to ask Mitch a question. Well, I'm not that I'd like to. I'm going to. I try and facilitate this fucking thing, so I'm just gonna. I don't know why I was questioning myself.
Moderate.
This is the most moderating you've been in a
It's
while. Good. It's good.
He's channeling his inner Kyle Bossman.
Usually we all just talk over each other, but this is the first time we've actually like had you go. I'm going to ask you a question. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Go ahead.
He's doing good.
Yeah. Well, I'm not either tired or started drinking too early. So I've lost my train of thought now. I'll just if it came down to it, I'd buy this anyway, but I'd play Cyberpunk because I've already lived in this universe for over 500 hours.
Yeah, which I have not. But the problem is I will be colored by a lot of the experiences I viewed through others.
Yeah, but this time around you get to make the different choices. That your Commander Shepard can be your Commander Shepard rather than watching someone else go through that. Yeah. So, Mitch, what would it take for you to see to maybe not necessarily buy this, or if you end up with a Xbox All Access and EA Play wrapped up in it, and this happened to be on as part of that EA Play deal, what would make you think, actually, I'm going to go back and give this another go?
Okay, well, first off, that the last part of like made it sound like I didn't like the game. When you
I'm not saying that you do.
But no, I get you. It just honestly, it just depends on like time, like what games are like. Have I finished a bunch of games already? Do I have time to like? It's similar to you guys in the perspective of, like if there's a new game out, I'd rather play the new game than play this older game. And I think to kind of put some hot tea on the stove, I personally think the reason why they're making this trilogy is because EA is afraid to let them make a new Mass Effect game because of how bad the last one went. And also, I think the team is so new that they're also like,
"Bye, Mrs. Burkhoff. Have a nice day."
Also, the team is probably so new that they're like, we're afraid to have you make a Mass Effect game, so go make the old one and see if you can do that. If you can do that, then you can make a new one.
I think there could be an element of that. I think there's the fact that Mass Effect Andromeda was received so poorly.
Yeah.
Which I think it would not have been that bad if it was released when it should have been, not released. So it was released too early. We all can agree that.
Well, it was released to meet fiscal.
No.
That was it. It got delayed twice, and then EA put the hammer down and said, "This is coming out," and that's it, because they had to keep the shareholders happy, and they needed it out in March.
It seemed like there still were a lot of design decisions about Andromeda that were that even more time would not have fixed. Like, it would have gotten rid of a lot of the technical problems, and so people wouldn't have been so frustrated with that part.
I think the game would not reviewed as well, but I think it would have reviewed better and got would have just been like, it's an okay Mass Effect game. It's not brilliant. It's just okay compared to like, this is garbage because look at this character model doing the jiggles.
Yeah,
people love to shit on that, and it didn't deserve some of the scores that it was getting. In my opinion,
there were a couple of
okay
cool
game. It's playable. It's enjoyable. It's not amazing. It's not the originals, but it's a good game.
Yeah, there were a couple of like people who did like, all right, like we're reviewing this game like 6 months later or a year later, just to try and see like what this game could have been. And they're like, it's still like, this would have been like a 7.3 or something like that, or 7.3 or maybe 7.9.
Yeah, but people
something
were giving
like
it
that.
5s and 4s. And
Exactly. That's unfair. That's unfair. But they're like, even the game, this Andromeda at its best was nowhere near the original trilogy.
before everyone rudely interrupt me, no one asked me how I was today, by the way, just to say that.
We know you're fine.
part of my thinking, based on what you were saying, Mitch, was this either a kind of back pocket strategy thing where they said, right, so Andromeda did so terribly badly critically, and with
financially.
and financially and with our community. How do we reinvigorate the IP? We can give the people the games that they actually liked, whilst then going back and thinking about what we do next with the IP. So,
which leads to the ultimate question is, sorry, Liam, go ahead.
I was saying I just wanted to make a few corrections for you guys. Well, in the same blog post today, they announced that a new Mass Effect game
Trump's actually won.
That a new Mass Effect game actually is in development. And it has been in development for a while.
No, they said it's in early development.
No, but it's still in early. Games can be in early development.
It's been in early development for a while. As long as someone has a notebook, as long as someone has a legal pad that says Mass Effect
sequel
5. Yeah, on it. The point is that they're making a new game, and I know they've rehired a bunch of staff that used to work there. So, and the thing with Andromeda being not successful was it wasn't the main BioWare team, it was BioWare Montreal. And a lot of the people that worked there hadn't even worked on Mass Effect games before.
But that doesn't matter. It still ended up being bad.
Well, they shut the studio down. Well, they essentially shut the studio down and moved most of the employees that were still there to Motive Games. So
they reallocated the workforce.
People.
Exactly.
So Liam, just to correct you, I don't actually hear any corrections. I just hear.
Yeah, none of those were.
You didn't correct.
Well, I did because there's a new.
Don't tell me that you're correcting me and then don't correct me.
Correctly. I just did.
I'm confused what you corrected us on. That's where I'm confused.
But there's a new game in development.
Yeah, but we know that there's a new game. That.
Well, it can't be a test of whether they can make a new game if they're
No. Hold on. When I say test, I mean, can you make a finished product? They have proved they can make a finished product. You got far enough. Now you can develop a new game because they know it will sell well. That's the point. They know it's going to sell.
They made Dragon Age Inquisition. That's a finished game. I don't get the point. They didn't release a unfinished game.
No, but the thing is, Mass Effect has already the original trilogy has a blue point. It's not making a game from scratch. You're remastering a game. That's easier than doing something from.
They're remastering the game because of fan demand.
No, they're doing it because they want to make money. It's the only reason why they do it.
Because of fan demand.
And the fans and the demand of the fans.
Demand it, and it's that could get us some money.
all the Fry memes take my money, like Mass Effect Trilogy Remaster. They do have an influence.
There is an element of that, and I also think there's an element of EA needing to do something different, because they've said right up until Burnout Paradise Remastered that they don't do remasters, and you'd think, well, and then Liam mentioned the Command and Conquer one. They've got all of this IP from the 13 studios that they murdered and buried under the car park that they could potentially be drawing on. And even if it is just, I don't know, doing a small-scale remakes of old games or full-blown remasters, they've got a whole heap of IP that's just sat there not earning them any money.
But I think the point, Keith, is specifically for this one is BioWare has had multiple epic fails in recent times.
Two.
Yeah, multiple.
Two's a multiple.
More than one.
Okay, that's fair enough.
And they're not just fails; they've been epic fails.
Yeah. And really only one if you don't count Andromeda.
What can you do? Significant. And what can
No. Actually, I just got to point out that they have been failures in terms of overall success, but Mass Effect Andromeda sold below their estimates, but still sold enough to make profit.
It still made money, and Anthem
it made so much money despite being an abject failure in almost every other way. conceivable.
But in regards to people's faith now in BioWare as a studio has hindered significantly since those two releases, regardless of how they sold. And I think EA is trying to say, what can we do to guarantee us a win?
Everyone, stop talking. Matt has unmuted his mic. He is going to come out with a pearl of wisdom that will
just
blow
make sure
your
you stroke
socks
the beard
off.
when you finish. Just to...
I was going to say, like, I think most people, in terms of BioWare, like, I think we care about what BioWare does, but the general public, I think they see EA. I think that it's not necessarily, like, I don't know, somebody else talk.
I thought what you were saying as well. I don't think EA cares too much about what people think of BioWare either.
I think they do because that leads to sales.
Well, it leads to their share price. If BioWare released another dog of a game,
BioWare really moved the needle in terms of EA share price compared to things like FIFA and Battlefield. No, not at all. Need for Speed. Why do they keep freaking making Need for Speed games? For fuck's
if you
sake?
look at their expectations for the sales of Mass Effect Andromeda, yes, they do expect them to move that share price for sure.
Yeah,
with the expectations they had for those two games, absolutely. They see BioWare as one of their heavy hitters, along with their
FIFA and Madden,
yeah, exactly.
Battlefield.
That is one of their guarantees. That's
my point is tomorrow they could shut down BioWare and it would make no difference in their stock price.
I think it would. I think it would.
Not as much as, say, if every country in the world did what happened in the Netherlands. No one read up on that news?
I'm confused. What are you talking about?
So in the Netherlands, the gambling commission
fined
EA
€10
€10 million, and then they're going to issue further fines of €500,000 a week until EA takes.
It was just too much generality for me to understand the connections.
Gotcha.
So
but Liam and Matt, I understand a little bit what you're talking about, because within this community, within people who actually listen to a gaming podcast and stuff like that, that's the prospect of it being made by BioWare makes a big deal to us. Like how good BioWare actually does on this project means something. But to still, even for a game like Mass Effect, most of the people who play this game could not tell you what studio made that game. They maybe could have told you EA did it because it's blasted at you every time you do EA. But most people don't follow the studios that make their favorite games.
People should.
But
they should, but most people don't. And so all they know is like, it's a Mass Effect game. And
they'll say it's an EA game.
But
BioWare Montreal or whatever. Most people wouldn't care or understand.
But that's the issue. There you go. That's a huge issue, though, because the last Mass Effect game is not received very well. So when they see Mass Effect on a box, doesn't matter who made it. But that's what I mean. But it is being made by the same studio, so that does hurt it.
No, it's not being made by the same studio. It's being made by BioWare.
Rather than Montreal.
I'm still saying BioWare all is one right now, because they are taking people from Montreal, and those people are making this game.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. I'm just saying most people who played any game really, but in specifically like either Anthem or Mass Effect Andromeda, they'll see Mass Effect and they go, "Oh, that last one was a stinker," and they're not going to look into, there was a B team that made it that didn't get enough time or whatever. Like, no, all they're going to see is like that last Mass Effect game was dookie.
Right, a lot of this is going to be so in terms of new sales. So there's going to be a proportion of people who never played the original trilogy, who may have played Andromeda and thought, what was all the fucking fuss about?
Yep.
And it's going to, I can see a lot of support for this game coming from gaming press, and that driving some of the attitude towards this remaster, and saying, and there's a box quote time, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, these are the good ones.
Not only that, like, it's word of mouth. What sells general games? Word of mouth from us gamers. When your mom and dad ask you, "What do you get Billy for Christmas?" Or you
Nothing.
talk, or you
He's
just
been
talk.
he's been a bad boy. He's getting a lump of coal, fucking turd.
A shotgun.
But anyways, oh my
Only in
God.
Pennsylvania.
But basically, like, you know, it's the word of mouth from us that gives the general game a lot of boost. It's not just the marketing, but marketing does help, especially where you target that marketing. So like if you're gonna put the Mass Effect trilogy on the Super Bowl, holy cow, that's going to get to a lot of people. And maybe your friend or person's going to go, hey, what's this Mass Effect game that they posted that looks really cool? And then you can tell them, like, this is a remaster of a really, really good game. You can go play this. Where, you know, I think what happened with Andromeda with that, even though, yes, it did sell well and they did make money off of it, and that's because the word of mouth of people going, it's the next Mass Effect game. And the general audience is doing that. But when you now have people going, in the next Mass Effect game, people might be, I'm going to be a little cautious about it. I might not recommend it to somebody right away without seeing more details about it or without playing it, because I don't know.
Forgive me for bringing Anheuser-Busch into this conversation. But it feels
It's about
like
beer. You see, it's relevant.
Yeah, it's about
correct. But I'm going to mention two beers neither of us would probably really drink.
And
it seems
anything
like
made by Anheuser-Busch.
no, I'm going
Bud
to
Light.
specifically reference normal red can Budweiser and Bud Light. Now, play with me.
Actually,
it seems
my
like
family drinks Budweiser, so you're good.
correct. I'm just saying the five here. My family drinks Busch Light and plays cornhole in Ohio. like, just leave me alone.
I was going to mention Busch Light.
Anyway, so what I'm saying is that it seems like the Mass Effect trilogy, like the remaster, is kind of like red can Budweiser. Like Budweiser only has to advertise their normal beer twice a year. Mm-hmm. And one of them is their Clydesdale Christmas Budweiser commercial. Like they hardly spend any marketing whatsoever money on their normal beer because it already sells itself. Like it everyone knows Budweiser exists. It's the same thing.
It's
if you
a
want it, you buy
brand.
it. It's a family brand. They don't have to do anything. Almost all of their, like 90% of their marketing budget is on Bud Light, and whatever new iterations of it that they have. And so
Bud Light Seltzer. That's the new one I've seen.
Bud Light Seltzer, like whatever your Bud Light
sounds disgusting.
Gustaba. Actually,
Bud Light lime with lime.
Actually, I will say, despite the Bud Light Seltzer is actually some of the most seltzer tasting seltzer that I've had, because I've tried a bunch of the others and they taste malty and whatever, because I actually like seltzer. Anyway, but it feels like that EA is going to have to pump so much marketing and convincing money into the new game, just like Bud Light. Whereas I think the Mass Effect trilogy is going to be an evergreens. Like people are like, oh, this is a household brand.
I was alluding to earlier by saying this can warm up people to the new game. And if this remaster lives up to my personal expectations of it being freaking awesome 4K, and if they do some subtle tweaks to some of the gameplay mechanics, particularly in one, but not tweaking. I'd like more of the RPG elements from one in the previous two, if I'm honest. But warming people up to a new one in this way. So here's the good shit, and now trust us that the game that's currently in development, this is going to be brand new, is going to be as good.
You know what's going to get people to trust it?
Liam telling people that it's good.
Well, the other thing would be is, them saying, and if it's true, like, I mean, this is a possibility. I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. But if them remaking the first game from scratch, if that's what they did, and saying
they couldn't, they wouldn't have had time.
I'm just saying, like, this would be a thing to convince a lot of people if this was true. I don't know if it is or not. We don't know. Because again, that's the other thing. They haven't revealed a lot of information, which makes me a little skeptical about how it's going to look in the end. Because they just haven't shown anything, and the game's supposed to come out in like 6 months from now.
I blame EA for that.
But,
They've been so odd with their messaging lately.
But anyways, I think if they said like, hey, how this game looks, it's using our brand new engine that's going to go in the next Mass Effect. That would probably sell a bunch of gamers on the new
whatever
game.
engine they're building Dragon Age.
Well, personally, I would be overjoyed if they just said, "Oh, any engine but Frostbite."
But yeah, I just it's
it's
a weird
the
Mass
EA,
Effect's in a weird
EA
time right now.
reneged on that, didn't they?
So I got a question for all of us. How many are going to skip to number 2 once they hit the first Mako section?
The Mako sections are the best bit. That's the best driving game that's ever been made. So you can keep your Forza Horizon 4. I'm driving around the moon in the Mako, trying to get over that hill to get to that marker.
Oh my god!
I got through Lego Harry Potter. I think I can get through a Lego Mako section.
I will tell you, when I first played Mass Effect, I think I was like maybe at early high school. I think it was like first year of high school, and so I was like 14 or 15. And
Jesus Christ, you make me feel old, man.
And so I will admit, like I've ended up beating Mass Effect by accident because of that section. Like I could not find it, and I was just like going around. All of a sudden, I accidentally ended up where I was supposed to be, and I was like, "Oh, I can continue the story now," because I was gonna quit pretty soon.
Yeah, I think it's the first or second Mako mission that you do where you're just like, where the hell am I supposed to go?
Like I went to a moon, and all of a sudden, like I ended up in a spot, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this works. Okay, oh, I'm continuing."
I remember it taking me an hour or two to find like the one point on that one planet.
It wasn't even on the planet; it was on its moon.
Yeah,
Matt, how many Pyjacks are you going to murder using the Mako?
As many as possible, I guess.
Hijacks sound like something from British mythology or something.
There's the kind of like a cross between a rabbit, a mouse, and a monkey.
Yeah, sounds British.
And they live on one of the planets in this where you can find one of the Prothean ruins. I was having a debate with Evan because I said on our Discord chat, if you'd like to join our Discord chat, send one of us a invite and we'll invite you. Which console would Commander Shepard prefer to play, PS5 or Xbox Series X?
I would say
it's obvious PS5.
I was gonna say
it
looks like his ship.
Well, no, it doesn't. You've made the same mistake as Evan.
It's the closest thing looking like his ship.
It looks like one of the Prothean beacons, and that's why Evan isn't on the show. Because he failed that test. And because you failed, you can't leave, because if you leave, we'd have to end the stream. Yes, I'm a bit of a Mass Effect geek. Liam, question for you. Would you buy this day one? So as soon as this, I'm not pre-ordering this. I'm not fucking nuts.
I am. I don't care.
I'll wait until
he's already got his pre-order in.
I'm waiting until it's $20.
I can't wait to play these games again. Like, just ridiculously excited.
It depends. It depends.
I can't go back to my PlayStation 3. I just can't. It's just
but the original Mass Effect was one of the reasons I bought an Xbox 360, because it was originally a Microsoft Studios game, so you could only play the first game on Xbox 360.
I don't even know how I got the game. Like, to be honest, maybe it was $20. Maybe I got it later. I didn't realize Mass Effect was a huge thing until probably 2 years after I played the first one. It wasn't.
When the first one launched, it was still a bit niche. It's not niche because there's no fucking T in it. It's niche.
English lessons with Keith McWomble.
Well, technically niche is a French word.
English lessons with Keith McWomble.
Yeah. We're moving on to our advanced swearing lesson now. So it was, the first game was considered to be niche.
Yeah,
but then
it played like it was niche too. Like
it really built on kind of what you were talking about, Mitch, that word of mouth, and also the critical reception that it got, because it did get a really good critical reception. And then 2 just blew up.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I played 2 when it came out, because it came out for all consoles. So
yeah.
Because I think I ended up, what did I do? I had a 360 and I had a PS3, and then I think I sold my 360 because I played Halo only on it. Halo and Gears, and I was done playing those games, so I think I sold it.
Soon, the only thing I'll be playing on my PS4 Pro will be Warzone. Because I can't transfer all of my gear and skins and everything else over to the Xbox account.
That sucks.
Okay.
You don't mean that's the only game that's on your hard drive because it takes up the whole thing, right?
No, because I actually manage my hard drive space. So if there's games on there that I'm not going to play, I delete them. Like Fall Guys. Bye, Fall Guys.
All right, I have 2 questions. I have 2 major questions to move the conversation.
2 major questions, and then I need to go.
Okay, 2 major questions. 1, I don't think we ever discussed this. Mass Effect 3, the ending. Your thoughts?
The ending's fine. Get the fuck over it.
No,
I liked it.
Now, hold on. I want to state the original, not the
no,
director's cut. The original ending.
I hate the original ending.
I never got to the original ending because I was too busy going off and doing loads of stuff. And then there was all the big blow up thing online. And I thought, screw it. They've announced that they're going to do a patch and redo the ending. So I'll carry on doing loads of other stuff. And then I'll play the ending.
Okay. Liam.
Yeah, I played the original ending and I hated it. And I was one of those people that were complaining to BioWare saying this is just trash. It feels ridiculously unpolished compared to the rest of the game. It feels strange. You lied and said like Ending was going to do all of these things and it didn't. It was just like pick a color.
Well, it was even with the new thing, it was still pick a color. But
the thing
I
is,
disagree.
Well,
I strongly disagree with the reaction to it.
The extended cut did add the scenes. Like,
Mm.
here's how your decision affected these people. Here's how your decision affected these people, etc.
Mm.
I don't know. I'm a Mass Effect 3 apologist. Like, I'm fine with the original ending.
I don't mind. I think the original ending is a mess. Like it's just terribly orchestrated and poorly told. It's confusing. It doesn't tell you exactly really what's happening.
But does
the
it
extended
have to?
cut fix? No, it does have to. It's like right. I always talked about it like this. There's this moment where at the end of the game the light appears, and then all of a sudden the storytelling in the game goes to shit. All of a sudden, you have the game is so. It has so much quality, and then once you head up to the Reaper base, suddenly the story writing drops off, and I think it just becomes a shit show.
I think it's perfectly fine the way it was. I
think the extended cut fixed it.
I think the extended cut did nothing to change anything, honestly.
I disagree completely.
I think the director's cut didn't do anything to change anything.
The extended cut added the option of you not making a choice and therefore dooming all of society, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah,
that was cool.
And then I think like picking people up in the Normandy, like I was like, that doesn't need to be explained to me. I can reasonably understand that these guys got picked up by the Normandy. Like I can reasonably understand that. And I think the big issue I think people have is they loved all the characters, but they didn't understand that the point is it's about your character. And so
that's a load of bullshit.
So you don't have to know what happens
to
them all at the end. And
I'm sorry,
you do see
dumb.
what happens.
You play 3 games with these characters. You deserve to at least have an idea of what happens.
Liam,
I'm with Liam on this.
I'm sorry, Mitch. That's some
finish
bullshit.
now. Hold on, let me finish, and then you can tell me you disagree. Because I'm trying to explain my point, and then you're all like, no. Okay, no. The point is that yes, they do show what happens to those characters, but it doesn't have to explain what happens to them after that. It can be left untold. It can be. That's totally fine. Because what if you wanted to make a sequel that didn't have to do with Commander Shepard? What if you wanted to make a sequel that starred one of those characters instead and tell how the world has changed due to your choice that you made? I love that. That's okay.
I mainly disagree because of the ending of 2. because of the suicide mission, and
Why does it have to be exactly like that though? Where
no, I'm saying you put so much effort into, because I did the last mission of 2 at least 4 times.
Oh, and trust
The
me,
first time
I
that I
looked up
played it,
all the options,
just
so like how things unfold, and I was just as much into that as you, for sure.
well, no, but just to make sure that I protected everybody, that I saved everybody at the end of that mission. So I agree with Liam to the extent that you do want to know what happens to those characters, because you spent all this time, especially after 2 and in the lead up to 3, making sure that they survive this, mission. You want to know at the end of 3 that they made it out alive, and so on and so forth.
You need the payoff.
I get that, and I think
Mitch,
you do get some payoff in regards to you do know what happens to them at the end, but you just don't know.
Mate, I think you're on a hill with a flag by yourself.
Yeah,
this one, mate.
I have
Mitch,
the high ground, fellas.
um,
go ahead.
I have to tell you how, like, Mass Effect 3, when that was coming out, that was a game I was more excited for than any other game I've been for in my life. I played through the first 2 games multiple times, created loads of different saves for that game because I wanted to see, how I would go through the game as a renegade and Paragon, save this character, don't save that character, I'd done all of these things. I'd read loads of interviews about developers talking about game. I've never been so excited for a game. And the thing is that they said loads of times, not just once, loads of times, oh yeah, you're going to have so many different endings and all of this stuff,
You do.
No, you don't. You don't.
You do.
And no, you
It boils
don't.
down to a choice of 3 different colors.
Yes.
But
I can get past that, right? But you set people's expectations, and you should exceed them. You should at least try to, and the ending just ends, and
what I would say, they did get a lot of bad. They did get, not bad press. They got a lot of kickback from people who don't understand how it would have basically. Right, I'll see if I can construct a sentence in English at some point.
It would have quadrupled the development time if they were
not just that. I'm just thinking around people's reaction to what happens at the end of Mass Effect 3. So here's your scenario that you're going into as your shepherd, and people had this idea in their minds. And the thing about communication is it's 2-way. So you need to be able to articulate a message, and that person needs to understand how you've articulated that message and received it in the way that you want them to receive it and understand it. And so there's flaws on both sides. So BioWare's messaging was bad, and people who were receiving the messaging didn't quite clearly understand what they were trying to say. So when it came to the ending of 3, and people said, you told me that my choices were going to make this massive galactic impact. How pissed off would they have been if they just had an algorithm behind the scenes saying, you made these kinds of choices, therefore this is your ending, fuck you. You've got no involvement in it whatsoever. People would have been just as pissed off saying, you've taken my ending away from me, or this is my opinion anyway. You've taken my ability to choose my ending away from me, because all it's done is added up the ones and zeros from the choices that I've made throughout 3 games and said, this is my ending.
And then I think to piggyback a little bit off you, McWumple, is also the fact that your choices did matter throughout that.
Of course, they mattered throughout the course of
the entire series. And that's what they've been saying, that this one game is not a standalone by itself game. It's a culmination of all the games, and your decisions in that affect what happens in your story. I think that's what people misread it as, going as Mass Effect 3 alone is its own game, and everything you do in Mass Effect 3 is going to change everything. It's the thing you've done in the first 2 games affect what happened in the 3rd game as well, just as like
which is my modern solace in my first playthrough of Mass Effect 3. Sacrificed himself to cure the genophage, and I nearly cried.
Same. Or I killed Krogan in the first game, and they were pissed at me because I came back and it was his brother.
Yeah, it's Rex.
Yeah.
That was my second playthrough of Mass Effect.
Well,
1.
to be honest,
And-
I didn't think he was really going to shoot him when I hit that button, and I was like, "Oh, he did!" And I was like, again, I was like 14, so I was like, "He's not really going to kill him if I click this button," and he did. And I was like, "Oh shit!" I kind of wanted him on my team, but I didn't like what he was telling me. So,
right, what was your second question?
sorry. Yeah. Second question is, where do you want to see this go next? Where is this going? Like, what do you want them to ever try?
I have such a long answer for this, Mitch.
Do you want them attempting
I'm
another Mass Effect
I'm going
game?
to let
Like, what do you want?
I'm going to let Liam answer for me, because one, it will save time, and two, Liam and I probably have a very similar view.
Oh, all right. Well, my point is that, ironically, for a game with 3 definitive endings, I'm just going to put it out there. Like, Synthesis ending, fuck that ending. That sucks a load of dick. I mean, it kind of works as a multiple choice ending, but it doesn't work taking the franchise forward in any way. Like, my personal...
Yeah, go for it, Liam.
I said my personal opinion, and I talk about this on forums with other Mass Effect fans, and they all shout at me. But my personal opinion is the Paragon ending is the Control ending. Like, picking the Control ending and putting Shepard's mind into the Reaper's sort of hive mind, basically him giving his moral code to the Reaper machines is the ending. It's the best ending. The Destroy ending is Renegade because it's the more ruthless option that ends up with all synthetic life being killed. The Control ending is the ending where basically every race in the galaxy still exists.
It also the Destroy ending also destroys
the Citadel,
people's ability to travel at FTL speed using Mass Effect relays. So it basically creates an isolationist society again, which is going to...
Does that ending, because I'm not as that familiar with all the endings, but wouldn't that basically say Andromeda couldn't have happened?
No, Andromeda happens between
2 and 3.
Between games.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
I disagree with the timeline of Andromeda as well as the story, and yeah, I'll just leave it there.
I think a good way to take the franchise forward would be to use that ending as the sort of precedent, and then basically, because if Shepard was in the Reaper machines, you could still have them very much taking part in any sequels, but they would be like peacekeeping machines, essentially. You go like 200 years into the future, and the Reapers are everywhere. They're just part of the background. They're part of the world that you now exist in. It's a nice sort of, them being there is sort of like a nice postmark to the old trilogy, I think. And then you can do new sci-fi stories in the new world that's created 200s later. They could do anything. I mean, people still don't know who created the Reapers.
I've got two scenarios. So one is the one that Liam was talking about, where you've got this kind of Reaper peacekeeping force, and you're so far removed from what happened in 3 because of the timeline. You don't know why these things here, and you view them as being an oppressive force, or you view them as this kind of ancient peacekeeping giant alien robot things, and you can therefore have choices about do you want to look to try and destroy them, or do you want to work against the people trying to destroy them to keep them around, to keep galactic peace. The alternative scenario is they actually set the next Mass Effect game earlier and draw from the books a bit more, and set it just after the Turian human war.
Oh, just after.
Yeah, I would go with Keith's, because I think if you choose any of the endings to be canon, you're going to piss off a large segment of the fan base.
I think he should be bold and do it, to be honest.
I kind of agree with Liam. I feel like they have, in my mind, I feel like they have...
I mean, it works in Star Wars. Disney
like,
just went, what's the canon? Fuck you guys.
Yeah,
we're doing what we want.
To be honest,
or they could just start over, yeah.
To be honest, I feel like they have no choice. Because if you go backwards... here's the issue about doing prequels.
Yeah, I agree with this.
You know what happens later. And so you can't really tell as much of an interesting story unless there's something that, like, in regards to like the prequels of Star Wars, I think they're actually, I think they're told horribly, but I think the stories are interesting in regards to like how all of a sudden the Emperor grew and created the Empire. I think it's a really interesting strategy that he did, and it worked out really great. And that's a really interesting story. But you have like this really interesting ending that occurs where there's an empire ruling over. So it's interesting to tell a story leading up to that. Where here, there isn't really anything interesting to tell up to this point, unless you wanted to tell a story that was happening in the past when the Reapers took over, but then you already know the ending to that. So like, how is that interesting? So I think they should be bold and move.
Can I just say, because I agree with Mitch, but I just want to maybe like build on something he said. I would say, Mitch, that going back into a prequel game doesn't lend itself to making a game on the same scale or enjoyment of any of the games in the original Mass Effect trilogy, even though I do think there's loads of interesting stories that could be told within that canon. But it may just not be the best place to go if you're trying to make a new fully fledged Mass Effect game on the same level as any of the 3 originals.
I guess the ultimate question could there be a Mass Effect? I know they try to do it with Andromeda, but I think like screw that out and just like have a Mass Effect game take place in a completely different universe and have nothing to do with like the humans, the crow, like change all the races. It's almost like you're starting from scratch, and Mass Effect is a game that just takes place in space. Interesting races, interesting societies, and all that kind of stuff, and not build on what's there.
Well, what's the point in having the IP then? You might as well just call it something else. Space Opera 1.
It's a space opera series, similar to Final Fantasy. You could do it. I think
no.
And here, sorry, when I say like start over, it's not like everything is scrapped out, but like Mass Effect relays could still exist in other galaxies. Who knows? And maybe the Reapers still exist in another galaxy or something similar to a Reaper, that maybe they actually come from the Reaper race comes from this large thing that actually spreads to multiple galaxies, and the Reaper is just a craftily designed creature that actually is meant to annihilate that specific galaxy, but there's a whole nother race that they can create that is specific to that galaxy, which has its different kind of race beings. And maybe you do have one species that is similar, or I don't know, but I think
you're basically pitching Andromeda right now.
Well, not even that, because it's like far too detached from Mass Effect to the point. It's more detached. Like there'd be no point in doing this when they could just create a new IP and not have any constraints to the existing universe that they've already set up.
All right,
but
I'm going to wrap up. Right, we're going to wrap up. But what we would say is, Mikey, when this launches, if you've got time, if you've got a spare 500 hours to play multiple playthroughs of this game, I would definitely recommend that you buy it and play through it. Dan, whenever you watch this, buy this game. You have missed out thus far, although you will have a baby, but you can just leave the baby beside you so that you can look after it whilst engaging in a space opera. I've heard that that's good parenting. I read it online somewhere. And they're still probably counting votes in Nevada.
No, actually, every news outlet has called Pennsylvania, and so it is over.
Well, they're still counting votes in Nevada.
No, they're going to just change anything. They'll be counting votes. It's over. They're just going to stop counting. They clearly can't count. They're going to stop counting. I heard
that they should have stopped counting last week. I heard they should have stopped counting about 4 years ago. They should have just let them.
They got up to 20, but
yeah, it's all about the legal battles going forward.
They got to it, and then they busted.
The endless cycle of headache.
That's how they work. Is how the votes count in Nevada, and this is why Burkoff's vote doesn't count. Is because they basically play it like a game of blackjack. They put them up, and it's against the house. And if you lose on the house, those ballots don't count.
All right. Thank you very much for listening. Happy N7 Day. We're looking forward to the remaster of the Mass Effect trilogy. I hope you are as well. We have been the PixelPints podcast. Until next time, follow us on Instagram at PixelPints Pod, where I've been the only one posting. Evan said that he wasn't going to post on fucking Instagram anymore, and then literally a week later, there's a post of him playing some Nintendo game, gets a shitload of likes. He's a like whore. And then follow us on Twitter at pixel_pints, where I don't actually tweet enough.
I guess clearly we know who the popular one is of the crew.
Yeah.
I don't count myself in it because I don't do it.
Liam's only recently started actually liking the posts that I put on Instagram.
Oh,
Evan's ones, he's there like a fucking flash. My ones, I could be waiting a week or so.
The beef is real when he checks who likes, not just how many, but who likes them.
I saw one from Sean Connery and I had to like that, and then I saw what actually it was one of Evan dressed up as Mario in the podcast. I still haven't seen, Matt.
It'll go up. We'll get it up.
I really want to see that. I didn't realize Evan was dressed up like that through the whole podcast. I was just like, I need to see this.
It is genius. Right. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for listening or watching or doing whatever you've been doing. Matt, do you want to say on that note?